Hi, my name is Kristen Anderson.
And I'm Shondell Babb.
And today we're at the Forks Market.
Talking to people about their pets. Everybody has that one pet that they had that they will never forget. What was yours and why?
He was a blue cattle dog in Australia, and he died, and he followed me everywhere and just be greatest little mates growing up as a kid. Went everywhere with him.
My favorite pet was my poodle. She was named Fluffy. So yeah, she was the love of my life.
So why was she your favorite pet though?
She was just so gentle, and we had her for a while, so yeah, I just love her.
When we were kids, we had a cat named Mitzi, and that's really the only pet I've ever had.
Have you had other pets other than Dexter?
I've had hamsters.
Okay, so is Dexter your first dog?
My first dog, yeah.
Awesome. Were there any hamsters that really stood out in your memory as the best hamster ever?
No, not really.
I guess my would be a dog as well. We had little Billy, who was a Maltese with our kids, our first dog that we had. So again, he followed my older son around everywhere, and he was just our pet. And the kids, because he was a little white Maltese, they could colour him. He would be blue one day, he'd be pink the next day. He was a good dog.
There was a dog named Angel. She just passed away a couple years ago, but she grew up with my kids. So, it's the memories of being part of the family and the kids enjoying the time with her was my best memory.
What's this guy's little name, or this little guy's name?
Her name is Willow.
Willow, how old is she?
She's just over a year.
Okay, very nice. So everyone has that pet that will stay in their memory forever. Is it Willow here, or is there another pet who really stuck out in your heart?
We have the cat named Molly. It's about 12 years old. You have to leave her at home though. So they're interesting pair that they kind of get along sometimes, but most of the time they don't. So.
How was Molly when you brought Willow around?
She was really kind of snarly and protective of the house, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, we got the pick of the litter. We named her Heart, and she lived for about 12, 13 years, right? And it was just good for the kids to have a dog to grow up with. And I've never had a dog less than 100 pounds, and now I've got a 10-pound Pomeranian that won't shut up.
No.
So we have Butterfly here, and Victoria's going to be demonstrating how to brush a longer fur coat.
Yeah, and while we're doing that, we'll talk about some maintenance to do at home as well. So with Butterfly, once again, she has one of those longer coats, so we want to make sure that every piece of the dog is brushed out nice, close to the skin. So I'll be doing some line brushing while we talk about maintenance at home. So daily brushing is really essential for our longer coated dogs. We want to make sure that they are in good health and checking their skin and coat on a regular basis. So checking behind those ears, especially, and in the armpits and in the groin area and around the wagging tail. So anywhere where the collar sits, where the harness sits, can be considered one of those friction areas where we might see some matting. We do recommend that you do some regular checks of the eyes, the ears, anywhere on the tummy that can be picking up some debris, because we want to make sure that we aren't missing anything, especially like snowballs or in the summer with ticks, which can be very small, and we don't want to miss anything that may be harming our dog when we don't realize that it's there. A nice thing to do for maintenance at home is lots of handling of the face and the paws and the tail, because we want our dogs to be as comfortable and ready to work with us as we need them to be. And we don't want them to be nervous or find the grooming unenjoyable at home. So that's really important as well. Another important thing to remember is to never cut out any burrs or mats. Your groomer can definitely show you some tips on how to take care of those if you're stuck at the lake and can't get to the groomer, or you can always give your local groomer a call and ask them to take care of that coat, because we're always willing to help. We never want to see any of the coat get damaged or anything happen to the puppy, because sometimes when we cut out a mat, we mistake our judgment and accidents can definitely happen. So we always want to make sure that that doesn't happen.
His mom really liked our dogs, and she loosened a board and she would push cookies through to Herc.
Louise Hutton is a passionate, lifelong dog owner, having owned a total of 4 dogs, the most recent being 2 golden retrievers, Herc and Chelsea.
Herc we rescued at a year, but my daughter actually helped her boyfriend and his father pick him out. And then it turned out that the father traveled a bit. So then he came and he lived with us. So we had him from about a year old. And he was around when we got our next golden retriever, which was Chelsea.
Having owned 2 dogs beforehand, Louise is pretty familiar with training a pet. However, she says training golden retrievers was a different experience from other breeds.
Well, Hercules, the young man that we had, was a little more difficult to train because he was a cocky kind of golden retriever. We loved his attitude, though. My daughter was taking psychology, and we tried everything with him to get him to learn some things. Because really, golden retrievers are easy to train. Like I say, with Chelsea, 5 minutes, and that was it. She learned something. We did agility together. We did dance steps together. My husband trained her in one morning just to run out to the end of the driveway, because we have a fairly long driveway, pick up the paper and come back. She was easy breezy.
A common family getaway was a summer trip to the lake, which Louise says Herc and Chelsea loved.
They loved swimming. They absolutely loved it. Couldn't keep them out of the water. And they were good swimmers. And they also loved the boat. They'd sit up at the front of the boat with their ears flying back and the wind in their hair. And they just absolutely loved it. Don't stop skiing, they'd say. Keep us going.
Though as every pet owner knows, the time to say goodbye eventually comes.
Herc lived until 12 years old, and Chelsea lived until 15, which we were very fortunate to have her that long. Hercules had cancer, so we started to spot some of those symptoms with him, and there wasn't much that we could do about it. He had quite a bit of it, and he died here at home. And we did take him out to the cabin that week because we were getting ready for a wedding out there, and we could tell that he didn't look the same, scruffier, but he still let us take pictures of him. And then he wanted to go off by himself, and of course we wouldn't let him because we were looking after him. I mean, he was our dog. And so we brought him home very quickly, late at night, and unfortunately he passed away shortly after we brought him in the house. And with Chelsea, it was her hips and her heart, and it was just for her simply old age, and we could tell, but she still had the light in her eyes. And
the sadness of losing a pet is certainly not a pleasurable experience, but Louise says she has no regrets.
I'd say it's worth every minute. Yes, that's one of the hardest things you can go through. I mean, like losing someone very close to you, no matter whether it's a person or a pet that you've had for many years, and you know they've been a huge part of your life. Losing them is very, very difficult. And you think about them a lot, and you almost imagine them, and you wish they were there. And I think, though, it's really worth it when you have that kind of a loving relationship. I'll always miss them.
And even though Herc and Chelsea are no longer around, Louise's passion and interaction with dogs continues with help from her daughter and grandchildren.
When they lived in Switzerland, they fell in love with Bernese mountain dogs. So they got to know a breeder in France, and they went to get a champion Bernese mountain dog, and his little sister was there. And her husband mentioned something about, wouldn't it be nice to have 2 dogs? And the lady said to them, this one's my favorite, but if you want her, she looked at my 3 little grandchildren who were still very young, and of course they were right into the puppies, and said, you can take her if you like. So they did. So they brought home a brother and a sister.
Even though Louise loves the time she spends with other dogs, the impact of Herc and Chelsea is still evident.
I'd say that they certainly do teach someone a lot of things about life, and because they just love you unconditionally. It is just beautiful. And if you can love unconditionally as well, then you too are a beautiful person.
And while the fear of losing a pet holds true with many, Louise's passion is too strong for anything to make a difference.
Oh yeah, I'd do it again in a minute. Because I love dogs. Right. I mean, people love horses, people love cats. I happen to love dogs. And golden retrievers, in my opinion, are the best pet.
For Petology, I'm Joshua Hood.
Hi, we're here at the Dakota Veterinary Hospital with Dr. Gould and also with Allison from Ratitude Rat Rescue. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. We're here today to learn a little bit about these furry guys. And what are these guys' names here?
This is Miguel, and he's my senior rat.
Miguel. And who is this?
This is Ben.
Ben and Miguel are here with us today to learn all about rats. And what a better place to be than here at a veterinary hospital. So myself, I don't know a lot about rats. When I see rats, I think scary stuff, I think movies, I think snake food, I think all sorts of terrible things. So why rats? What's the deal with rats?
So rats are actually extremely social pets. They're really easy to handle, unlike smaller animals like hamsters and mice. So even for kids, they're sometimes a good first-time pet. They're really, really sweet animals. Not many rats bite or anything like that unless you're super mean to them or something. They're actually very, very nice animals. You can teach them tricks. I treat mine like little pet dogs, actually. So they get little dog treats and things like that, and they can hang out on your shoulder, and they're really fun animals to have.
Yeah, they look pretty sociable. Like, they don't look like very mean rats. They actually look pretty cuddly.
Yeah, this guy's my big baby, so he's a really good example of what a rat can be if you spend a lot of time with them.
Awesome. Okay, so I've never owned a rat. Is a rat a good pet for a person like me? I work a lot. I'm busy. Is it a good pet to have for a busy lifestyle?
They can still be like a pretty good pet for a busy lifestyle. They do require like a few hours out of the cage a day, but that can be in the morning before work and then after work as well. But as long as you give them some out of cage time, they're usually pretty happy pets.
Right on. That's good. So like any pet, they have to, be socialized. You have to, give them attention too. It's not an adornment. It's another member of the family, right?
Exactly, yeah. Even though they're small pets, they do love, like the more attention you give them, the happier they'll be. And they do love being with people. They're the type of animal that like to do things like that.
Right on. So let's ask the doctor here a couple health-related questions. I have never owned a rat, doctor. I don't know how to take care of a rat. What do I need to know if I want to have a healthy, happy rat?
They're pretty easy to take care of. They do need a cage, and it's best to have a wire cage and not an old aquarium.
Kind of like these ones we got back here.
Are perfect. Yeah, and with some bedding in it that's not cedar shavings, but newspaper, Carefresh, lots of different options for bedding. They need food, and they do make rat pellets, which has everything they need in it. And then fruits and vegetables. They're omnivores just like us, so they'll eat various treats and people food and stuff like that. But you do have to watch you don't overfeed them, or they'll end up like Ben here, who's a little bit overweight, and then they can run into some medical problems from that. They should come in to see their veterinarian once a year, just like other pets, so that we can check and make sure that they aren't getting overweight. They have continuously growing front teeth, and sometimes
like beavers.
Like beavers. Their back teeth are not continuously growing, but their front teeth are, and sometimes they can get overgrown, and we have to watch for that. And then they can have other medical problems as well, respiratory problems, skin problems, and stuff like that we have to watch out for.
Now you've brought some props here. You've got cages. You've got some more fellas back there. Break down the cage setup. Like, this looks pretty intense. What's going on here?
Yeah, so rats actually love to climb. So I find that used bird cages actually work extremely well for rats. These are actually female rats in this cage, and female rats are way more active than males. So they sometimes use things like wheels, and they like high hammocks and things like that. So I find like a used bird cage is definitely a really great idea for rats.
So the male rats are lazy?
Male rats are lazier, I've noticed. Yeah, they don't tend to use the wheel as much. They just lounge around in the hammock. And I've noticed that males are the ones that tend to gain weight and sometimes get overweight. I've never noticed that happen with a female, but with my males sometimes.
Just like people, kind of.
Maybe so.
So yeah, you've got a lot of really interesting things in here. You've got like this double, triple hammock thing. Like I almost want to jump in there and lie in that. That looks super fun. Oversized wheel. You got what's this here?
That's actually a parrot toy. So bird toys also make great rat toys as well. Rats will climb and chew on anything. So you can basically stick anything in there. This is actually a homemade hammock that someone donated to me. So someone was actually able to sew this together. I personally can't. You can buy them at the store as well. But this was really awesome that someone donated that to me.
Is there like a type of toy that maybe is not okay for a rat?
Toy-wise, I've never really found anything that's dangerous to them. Like Dr. Gold was saying, like some certain types of shavings, like cedar or pine, can be really hard on their respiratory system. So it's mostly just the bedding. You want to be careful what you use. I use like old newspaper or fleece and things like that to line the floor with. So that's kind of the one place you want to be careful with. Is the bedding.
Is this guy talking?
I think he is talking, but that's actually funny. This is my senior, so I think he might. They make noises like that when they get a little bit stressed or uncomfortable. But Dr. Gold checked this guy last week, and he seems to be healthy. But
maybe he doesn't like the camera.
Yeah, maybe we'll get another check on him today. He might need some antibiotics if he keeps making noises like that. I'm surprised.
So tell us a little bit about Ratitude Rat Rescue. When did you guys get started?
So I've actually been running this for about 8 years now. I used to work at the Winnipeg Humane Society, and when I worked there, they didn't really deal with a lot of rats. So that's when I decided to start the idea of a small animal rescue that was mainly rats. I do sometimes take in rabbits, mice, smaller animals like that as well, but my majority is rats. So over the years, I've learned quite a bit about them, so I feel like I'm pretty educated on them at this point. So if anyone ever has any questions, concerns, they can definitely ask the Ratitude Rat Rescue for anything like that. Kijiji is the main way that I've been getting people to adopt rats at this point. But I also do have a website, ratituderatrescue.webs.com. And yeah, I just take in unwanted rats. People contact me from various situations. Sometimes it's snake food rescues, like rats people have gone out on their own and tried.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so if someone thinks they're going to be fed to a snake, sometimes people will rescue them and then bring them to me. I've taken in lots of weird situations, though. I had one a few months back come in from the dump, actually, that was found in the landfill. So crazy things happen to rats. Sometimes they can get into, if you let them loose in your house, they can get into your garbage and end up at the dump, which is not a good place for a domestic rat.
That's it. We learned a ton about rats today. Their care, they're great pets. They're not so scary. They're super cuddly. Look at this guy. Like, look at this face. I think I'm going to get one. Great for kids and just really easy to take care of. Thanks for joining us.
Set furnishings for Petology provided by Canvasback Pet Supply.